Welcome back to the show, one and all. Jess, you first. A scintillating, brilliant performance from Arsenal today.
Yeah, very much so. It was the best performance that we've had, away performance, I think, since Brentford away. So, and I think that's what a lot of us needed. We needed like a easy kind of formality type of win off of the back of a couple of results where we had to come from behind and there's all this controversy and all this kind of stuff. I think we definitely needed that. And it could have easily been 6 or 7-0. I know that Fulham tried in the second half, but game state, we were just kind of going second gear in that second half. But I mean, it was just the perfect performance. Clean sheet. Now we're level with Newcastle for clean sheets. I think 12. That's where we're at. Trossard with the hat trick of assists. He looked better after his injury than he did before it, which is crazy because I thought he was going to look rusty, but he didn't, and he was excellent. So it was the type of performance that you need to put in to let people know that you're serious. I know that Manchester City kind of, they had their champions level performance yesterday against Crystal Palace where they made it happen no matter what the circumstances were. People thought we were going to be under massive pressure going away from home to Fulham, and we just absolutely skinned them. So yeah, it was a great performance. I have nothing to complain about. Can't wait to rewatch this game. And if we beat Crystal Palace, we'll be 8 points clear going into the international break. So let's get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's been so much talk about Arsenal crumbling, can't keep clean sheets. Everyone can predict the downfall. Again, your team stepped up today again and said, shut up.
5 for 5 away clean sheets in London derbies needs to be spoken about. That is impressive. To go to Tottenham, Brentford, Palace, and Fulham, and not only do that, but keep a clean sheet has never been done before by any London side. So that is one thing I need to first speak about, because I feel like that just shows the antithesis of what we've been able to do this season. Going away from home and keeping those performances high and keeping the standards high, even away from home, is not something we've been doing in the past. Mikel Arteta getting his 100th win. Shout out to Mikel Arteta. Just another thing that he's knocked off the perch. In the January window when we got Leandro Trossard, it was underwhelming because we wanted Mudryk, but boy, he has stepped up big time, and his Premier League proven status is showing and benefiting us right now. Coming into this game, getting us a hat trick, coming straight from injury, and coming into the game and having that type of performance in the first half, might I say, another person putting in a record because no one's done that before, get a hat trick of assists in the first half. I don't think it hasn't been done before. Optastat said something about that, and also, he's unlocked Martinelli. Martinelli's been looking so threatening. I haven't seen that from him before. And I love Eddie Nketiah, but the reality is if Jesus is not starting, we're now going to probably be playing Trossard there. It's not a knock on Eddie Nketiah. It's just we've seen the level of performances. The fact that he's ambidextrous with both feet and he can take a shot with both feet is just causes more problems for defenders. And you know what? Gabriel Magalhaes loves a goal versus Fulham. He did it before at the Emirates. He did it away his first season, his first Arsenal goal in his first game. I remember, Terry, that we did a watch along that game. But yeah, it is what it is. We keep doing these things, and hopefully we continue to win, and we keep pushing and put pressure on Man City, because right now I feel like these guys are connected, and every time I watch them play, I just feel like we're going to do it, because we're getting our players back. Everything's starting to go in our way. And I told people it wasn't about the defense. It was about the attack. If the attack cannot control the game, we're going to look worse defensively. But right now, with our players starting to come back, I don't have that worry no more.
Yeah, listen, I think on Trossard, it was just another one of those signings. It's not calling Arsenal fans out, but I seen when it happened, I was more excited for you than, not you personally, than Arsenal fans were. I just looked at it from day one and thought to myself, quality signing. And in the short term, anyway, the next 2 to 3 years, he'll be better than Mudryk. Longer term, maybe not, but then you'll address that situation later on down the line. I see this a lot from football fans nowadays, where it's a case of, oh, this guy's too old, though. He might not, he's not going to last the course of time. And what do we do in 3 or 4 years' time when he gets too old? It's just something that big clubs shouldn't be worrying about, because you have the financial ability to replace them. That's something that small clubs should worry about, not big clubs. And I think Trossard has been sensational, and you maintain that 5-point gap. And now next week, Jess, you win your Premier League game next week. City don't play. That means you can go into the international break 8 points clear with 10 games to go. And we're getting to that point where everyone keeps saying that City are going to go on this 10-game winning streak and overtake you. Well, if you win that match, it means they have to win their last 10 games and you lose 3. That ain't going to happen, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jesus coming back in, and if we can, after the international break, have a similar level of squad going into those games, I think we can feel confident that, we'll win quite a few games and hopefully win the title. I still think that, Man City are a great team, and it is what it is. But we're going to put ourselves in a really good position going into those final games to make that push. And that's what's so important. People always talk about the big games. It's not always about the big games. It's about accruing those points against the small teams. And we're doing that. So yeah, in Manchester City, I think right after the break, their first game is against Liverpool, and Liverpool need a bounce back, don't they? So hopefully they'll be able to take points off of Manchester City. But yeah, I mean, again, like people keep saying that Arsenal are kind of like, I don't know, lucky and this and that. I don't know how you can look at the performance today, which is very similar to a lot of the performances pre-World Cup, and say that we're lucky. That team is playing good. I think a lot of people would want their team to be playing that way. Okay. So yeah, I think we're putting ourselves in a good position, hopefully to win the title. Hi, Neeks. How are you?
I think it's just a little banter, Jess. People don't want to.
How many trophies you won this season, Jess? Sorry, girl. How many?
One second. We're going for the big one though. That's the reality.
That's a Jess, girl. Focus.
Hey, I'm gonna bite sometimes. But look, I'm just gonna say this: Leeds away, we came back. Fulham away, Fulham at home, we came back. Leicester, no, was it Leicester? No, it was Aston Villa. We came back. Bournemouth, we came back. All these games that we keep coming back. Eventually, people have to stop saying it's luck and just say, you know what, we just have that fighting attitude and we keep coming back because we're able to do it and we have the capability to win these games.
Yeah, look, listen, everyone knows I'm someone that's not been on the kind of Arsenal hate wagon this year. There's banter to be had, and I get that. But when it comes to serious analysis, today is what you've done for 90% of the season. That's the crazy bit where that's why the Gary Neville stuff's kind of confused me a little bit. It's almost, if you were scraping every win, then I could imagine this sort of prediction of a collapse. But as I say, I think you'll win your next game. You're then 8 points clear with 10 games to go. Yes, again, mathematically, you can lose it. But we look at City. I mean, you could then afford to lose to City at the Etihad and it changes nothing. You really could. So the Arsenal are in a very strong position. I think you're going to get a lot more salt before it gets nicer, because you'll almost see that final bit of sort of frustration come from rivals that on the denial curve. And then it will just be like, oh, yeah, you're good. Then it will come to playing it down. Then what they'll probably be working on now is, okay, you'll win it, but how can we find a way of saying it isn't as good as it really is? That is what's going to happen. This super chat here, by the way, says, wow, missed the game. Jesus and Trossard back. I mean, is how significant? I want to ask a rival here, KJ. How significant is Jesus, especially returning for Arsenal?
Oh, no, it gives them a big boost. It gives them the confidence knowing that off the bench, while he's recovering his fitness, he can come on and do what he's been doing from the start of the season. When he came on, it's not like he looked rusty. He looked good, So it's a massive boost for Arsenal. Arsenal fans, the Arsenal team, they know how important he was for them at the start of the season. Very unfortunate for him to be out for so long, but he's back now. And going forward, Arteta's got the perfect selection issues. Do you play Trossard? Do you play Martinelli? Do you play Jesus? It's all good for Arsenal right now, and I'm not gonna bash on Jesus as a player or Arsenal as a team because they're doing good.
Neeks will. He's a hater.
Listen. I've never rated Jesus like as a elite striker. I know. You know what really annoyed me about Jesus, and this is before the Arsenal, is that Pep thought he could replace Aguero, and I rate Aguero so highly. And I thought, who is this guy? Who do you think you are? And then he went to the World Cup in 2018 and absolutely flopped it. So I haven't rated him since then. But what he does do, and I think Agal kind of mentioned it earlier, he also does what Trossard. He kind of releases your wide forwards. He allows Martinelli to take up those positions where he can get goals. When you've got someone like Nketiah, who is a penalty box striker, and Martinelli, who's not really a creator, therefore you've got two players who want to score goals, but neither's going to produce or create the space for the other to score goals. And I don't think it's a coincidence that since Trossard started games, Martinelli's goals have returned. And that's not a slight on Nketiah, but just in terms of the way that Arteta wants to play, and to get the best out of your best players. Having Jesus is important because if Trossard is out or vice versa, you've got a player who can do that. Whereas if you didn't have a Jesus available or Trossard signed, you change the striker difference changes the way that you play. So I think his importance is, for me, it's more to do with Saka and Martinelli rather than he's going to go and get 20 goals and win you a league title. But it's not necessary. It's a team game, innit? So everyone has to do their job. So I respect that. But I'll never call it world class. You never, ever.
You could have just ended it right there. You could have you had to dig in.
But he's a good player. Useful.
Yeah. Again, it all depends on.
Wait, guy, you're saying that he's going to be world class? You think he's world class?
No, I just think it's funny that people draw on the narratives that, oh, you score goals, but you do nothing else. But then when you do everything else, they're like, oh, you don't score enough goals. You're always going to be beggars. You're always going to be.
But a world-class player generally does, or world-class striker generally does more than one thing. Generally, now obviously, if you're scoring to an elite level, then it kind of covers the other things. He doesn't score to an elite level, and he's not peak Bobby Firmino. So he's a good player. He's a useful player. But and again, this ain't no Arsenal.
Good and useful. That's a little.
This ain't Arsenal here. Arsenal fans are gonna hold it now because he's your player. But I've been saying this for years, and you didn't care because he wasn't your player. I'm not gonna change because
No. Seriously, like I've always liked Jesus. So I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, like good and useful, like that's like Veghorst or some shit.
Veghorst is not good. Veghorst is not good, and Veghorst is not. Cam, sorry, Cam.
Hold on. What's that?
Veghorst is not useful. He's not useful. He's rubbish.